The prairie is white, endless. Snow drives sideways, whipped by wind sharp enough to cut skin. A small hunting party moves slowly, heads down every step a fight. No tents, no stoves, just frozen plains and miles to walk. For us, that would mean disaster. A modern camper would tap out in hours. But Native Americans, they kept going. Night after night, mile after mile. They didn't have Gore-Tex jackets or sleeping bags stuffed with down. What they had was memory knowledge carved into every journey, passed down through generations. 7 heating hacks. Simple, primitive, brilliant. Each one meant the difference between freezing to death or living to tell the story. Stay with me, because the first forgotten trick might be the only thing standing between you and the coldest night of your life. Night on the prairie was merciless. The fire burned low wood, nearly gone, the wind pushing smoke sideways. For most of us today, that would mean shivering until dawn, or not waking at all. But Native Americans carried a trick as simple as it was brilliant. Stones. Not just any stones. Smooth river stones pulled from the earth and set in the fire until they glowed with heat. Too hot to touch bare-handed, but not too big to carry. When the flames dropped, they wrapped those stones in layers of bark grass or animal hide. Suddenly the fire was portable. Imagine holding one inside your cloak. The heat radiated out, slowly warming your chest and hands. Place 2 or 3 at your feet, and the frozen ground turned into a crude but effective heater. A family could line them along a bedding mat, turning a snow-soaked camp into a livable space. The science is simple. Stone absorbs heat quickly, but releases it slowly. Modern campers use chemical hand warmers that last 6 hours. These stone bundles, you could recharge them every night, again and again. No batteries, no plastic waste, just memory passed through generations. Picture a winter journey, the sky black snow rising around the camp. Without this trick, frost would creep into fingers and toes before morning. With it, warmth was carried like treasure, tucked close, shared hand to hand. And that was only the first secret. Because what happens when the storm isn't just cold, but wet, when sleet cuts through every layer you wear. For that, Native Americans had another answer: hides thickened and strengthened with grease. Snow was bad, but snow mixed with rain, that was the true killer. Cold and wet, the deadliest combination on the plains. Clothes that stayed damp became death sentences. Heat drained faster, spirits collapsed sooner. Native Americans didn't have waterproof shells from Patagonia. No Gore-Tex, no nylon. What they had was deer and bison and the wisdom to turn hides into armor. Picture a cloak cut from fresh hide, heavy, thick, already warm. But then came the upgrade fat. Bear grease, deer tallow, rubbed deep into the fibers until the surface shined. The result, a cloak that shed sleet and blocked wind. Waterproof, windproof, and almost bulletproof against the storm. James Adair, writing in 1775, described how southeastern tribes coated skins with oil to survive damp winters. William Bartram saw the same decades later, cloaks gleaming in the rain, heavy with protection light, with survival. Think of it this way: modern hunters buy Carhartt jackets, thick canvas, oiled, built to last. Native hides were the original Carhartt, nature's Gore-Tex, tested by centuries instead of seasons. And it wasn't just about the body. Those cloaks became makeshift tents, blankets, even mats to kneel on. Imagine a family huddled together, grease-dark cloaks draped across shoulders, rain sliding off instead of soaking in. Without them, every storm could end in hypothermia before dawn. But sometimes even the warmest cloak wasn't enough. Because the coldest killer wasn't always falling from the sky, it was rising from the ground. The frozen earth itself pulled heat away faster than wind. And Native Americans had an answer for that too. Bark mats, snow beds, and layers between skin and soil. The fire kept you warm from above, but the real thief was underneath. Frozen ground doesn't just feel cold, it pulls heat from your body faster than wind. Lie straight on snow and you'll wake stiff. Or not wake at all. Native Americans knew this long before science explained it. When journeys forced them to sleep in the open, they built insulation from what the forest offered: bark and pine boughs, birch bark peeled in wide sheets, pine branches stacked thick. Together, they formed a dry bed that lifted the body away from the earth's icy grip. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but survival often is. That layer of bark and needles was the difference between a camp that killed and a camp that carried you to dawn. Think of today's gear. Backpackers pay $300 for a foam sleeping pad that traps air and blocks heat loss. Native Americans made the same technology, only theirs came from trees, not factories. Picture a hunter rolling into camp. Snow falling, wind hissing. He lays down a mat of bark, spreads pine boughs, then settles under a hide cloak. The ground still frozen, the storm still fierce, but now he has a barrier. He has a chance. And sometimes that barrier was snow itself. By digging shallow trenches or building up a snowbed, they turned the enemy into a shield. Snow trapped air, slowed heat loss, and gave shelter where none seemed possible. Don't sleep on the cold, or you'll sleep forever. That was the unspoken rule. And it worked. But food mattered just as much as shelter, because even the best bed could fail if your body had no fire left inside. And for that, Native Americans turned to the richest fuel of all, fat. You can build the best bed in the world. You can wrap yourself in hides and bark. But if your body has no fire inside, the cold still wins. On long winter journeys, Native Americans carried a secret weapon, pemmican. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't pretty. But it was power packed into a lump of survival food. Pemmican was made from 3 things: dried meat, usually bison or deer, rendered fat poured in hot, and sometimes crushed berries for flavor and vitamins. That's it. Simple. But together it became the perfect fuel. Why? Because fat burns slow. Protein feeds muscles, but fat feeds the fire inside. A few bites of pemmican could carry a hunter through hours of freezing wind, turning his own body into a walking stove. Modern hikers eat energy bars, sweet quick, gone in minutes. Pemmican lasted for days. Travelers packed it into rawhide bags. Hunters kept it close to the fire, ready to grab when miles stretched ahead. Explorers centuries later still copied it. Hudson Bay traders called it the gold of the North. Picture this: a man kneeling by the fire knife, cutting into a brick of pemmican. The fat shines in the firelight, the smell rich and heavy. He eats, wipes his hands, then pulls his cloak tight. His stomach warms, his blood moves faster. He's no longer just surviving, he's carrying fire in his veins. Cold eats the hungry first. That was the truth. And pemmican kept hunger away. But survival wasn't only about eating alone. It was about sleeping together, because sometimes even a stomach full of fat couldn't keep the storm away. And that's when warmth came from the pack itself: family, children, even dogs. There are nights when even fat in your belly can't keep the storm away. The wind screams, the hut rattles, the fire dies low. That's when survival wasn't about one man. It was about the pack. Native Americans, especially the Plains tribes, slept close. Not just family, but dogs too. Mothers, fathers, children pressed tight under heavy hides. Dogs curled at their feet, at their sides, their bodies radiating heat like living furnaces. It wasn't luxury. It was necessity. A single body might shiver through the night, but a dozen bodies together made a wall of warmth. Modern campers buy sleeping bags rated for 0 degrees. This was the original sleeping bag, except it barked when danger came close. Picture the scene. The storm howls outside. Inside, it's dark, cramped, heavy with breath. Children sleep between parents, a pup nestled under a blanket of fur. Heat builds not from firewood, but from life itself. It's messy, it's crowded, but it works. Science agrees shared body heat slows hypothermia, keeps core temperature steady, and beyond heat, there was comfort. The rhythm of dogs breathing the weight of kin beside you, that was warmth the storm couldn't steal. Many hands make light work, the old saying goes. In winter, many bodies made warm nights, and that warmth wasn't only for sleep. It was a reminder that survival came from community, not isolation. Alone, the storm wins. Together, you have a chance. But body heat only carried so far. Sometimes you needed fire that traveled with you, not in the stomach, not in the pack, but in your hands. And for that, Native Americans turned to oil lamps that burned fat itself. Darkness in the northern winter wasn't just cold, it was endless. The sun dipped early, the nights stretched forever, and the wind never stopped. A fire was life, but you couldn't carry a bonfire on your back. So native peoples of the far north carried a smaller fire, an oil lamp. The Inuit called it the kulik. Others shaped theirs from stone or clay bowls. Inside went seal oil, or sometimes pine resin when seal fat wasn't near. A simple wick, twisted moss, or a strip of fiber drank up the fuel. Touch it with flame, and suddenly you had light warmth, even a cooking flame, all in the palm of your hand. Think of it as the original portable heater, not plugged in, not battery-powered, just fat and fire steady and stubborn, burning against the dark. Picture a hunter crouched in a snow hut. Outside, the storm claws at the walls. Inside, a small lamp flickers, casting gold against fur and wood. He leans over it, warming his hands, heating water, maybe even drying mittens. That glow wasn't just heat, it was hope. Science tells us fat burns hotter and longer than wood scraps, but for families it was more than chemistry. The kulik gave light for sewing, for storytelling, for keeping spirits alive through endless nights. Keep the lamp burning wasn't just a saying, it was survival. And sometimes the only shelter was snow itself. When wood ran out and storms raged, people turned to the one enemy that could also be a shield, the snow around them. Sometimes the storm came too fast. No tent, no bark mats, no time, just white chaos swallowing the horizon. Most of us today think snow kills. And it does if you fight it the wrong way. But Native Americans learned something modern survival schools still teach: snow can also save. They dug into it. Not deep caverns, not castles, just enough. A trench, a shallow cave, walls of snow piled high around them, and inside the air shifted. The wind was cut. The biting cold slowed. The same flakes that froze your skin turned into insulation thicker than wool. It's strange to say, but science proves it. Snow traps air, and air holds warmth. A snow cave might sit at 32 degrees even when outside is 40 below. It's not cozy, it's not comfortable, but it's the difference between a long night and your last night. Picture it: a hunter on the plains, storm raging, no fire left. He carves into a drift with bare hands, curls inside, pulls his cloak tight. Outside, the storm screams. Inside, it's muffled, dim, bearable. The snow becomes both prison and protector. Modern survival schools call this the snow trench method. Soldiers train it. Climbers use it. But for Native Americans, it was memory, not manuals. A skill passed hand to hand, life to life. Sometimes you beat the enemy by turning him into your shield. That's what snow shelters were: a shield built from the very thing that tried to kill you. And after all 7 of these tricks, one truth rises clear: survival never came from gadgets. It came from memory, community, and the will to turn nature itself into an ally. Snowstone, bark, fat fur, even the family itself. Native survival wasn't luck. It was memory engineered into warmth. Every trick we've seen wasn't about comfort. It was about staying alive on nights when the storm wanted to erase you. Heated stones carried fire long after flames died. Greased hides turned rain into armor. Bark mats lifted bodies from the graveyard of frozen ground. Pemmican lit a fire inside the stomach. Dogs shared their breath as blankets of life. Lamps carried light into endless dark. And snow itself, the enemy, became a shield. Modern gear is clever sleeping bags, down jackets, hand warmers. But the truth is, older survival comes not from things, but from knowledge. Knowledge held by families, remembered by tribes, passed from one winter to the next. So ask yourself, if the storm came tomorrow, which of these would you remember? Which one could save your night? Drop your answer in the comments. And subscribe, because the next winter is always closer than we think.